Hi-Rez, they're the ones that make Paladins and Smite, have stated they will start using AI to clone voices and refuse to add in any words to the contracts that would protect actors from it. More info in the thread, please share to other voice actors. So here we go, and this is what's going to happen. When some voice actors that I know asked about whether or not they could see the contract or confirm whether something could be added to protect them from having their voices used for AI, they were told that they can't see the contract until they sign the NDA. That makes sense. It's like, well, what's in the box? So you have to buy the box. Well, I don't want to buy it if I don't know what's inside it. Okay, well, then you can't know what's inside it. Is there something bad in the box? Maybe. Do you want to buy it? Find and buy the box, open it up. Fuck! And that's it. And that's it. Should it be illegal? Why should it be illegal? It's a contract between two adults. How can a contract between two adults be illegal? I don't agree with that. Absolutely not. Let's see this here. Two separate contracts, one to the other, one not tell. Oh, this. Oh, to sign an NDA to talk about the contract? I don't know how I feel about that. Maybe, maybe not. I haven't thought, I have to think that one out more. This means that they signed the NDA and Hi-Rez wouldn't change the contract, which they basically already have confirmed that they won't, since they fully intend to steal the voices of people who work for them. I don't know about steal, but sure. This means the voice actors who signed the NDA can't even warn people who might be new or might not know better against working for them. The contract won't have anything to do with AI protections, and they know that. This is about silencing people that already know and are against them. Again, I don't have a very big reach on Twitter, so please spread this to as many voice actors, new or established, as you know. We all have to stand together on this and refuse to take whatever Hi-Rez offers. We can't give them any more voices than they already have. This has already gotten a bit crazy, and since I have people telling me to provide proof, how about the words of the CEO himself? This is the CEO apparently of Hi-Rez. Incapacity that leaves talent unable to perform for any foreseeable time. That's very open-ended. If it were just rights after death, that would be one. Client agrees to, this is what he said. Jesus, why is it so fucking bright? Let me see if I pull this up real quick. This is from the contract here. Client agrees not to use sublicense the performance to simulate talent's voice, likeness, or create any synthesized digital double voice. Okay. Of talent, notwithstanding the foregoing, in the event of talent's death or incapacity that leaves talent unable to perform at any foreseeable time, client shall be permitted to use the performance or recordings or other digital representation of the performances of talent to produce new audio, images, and or video of talent's voice and or likeness, a synthetic performance for use in completing the performances of talent under the agreement written under the talent of talent's estate. Okay. Seems reasonable. I mean, I think that it's I think that really a lot of what this is hinges off of what does incapacitated mean or incapacity mean, and any foreseeable time. What does this mean? Does this mean if you miss a deadline or you miss a date that they then just AI your voice? Does it mean that if you're in a coma they're gonna do it, right? You have a sore throat, you're sleeping, something like that. Because the balance of power isn't equal. It's taking advantage of someone whose position isn't the same. It's the same as an employer putting an employee in a vulnerable position. Well, that's why you have the government. That's what it is. Do you think AI could have made a better movie than the new Snow White? Yeah, probably. Let's see this. But could it be used against talent or something with like the flu? Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Eventually, what's to stop them from using scheduling conflicts as an excuse? Nothing is to stop them because incapacity isn't defined. It's cheaper and easier, right? Nobody can trust language like that. And Almost all of us would prefer to not have someone use our voices after our deaths anyway, so the saving grace of the writer isn't saving anyone. Well, I don't know about most of us, right? I mean, who knows about most of us? But, you know, maybe that's true. Why is this a problem while artists have to eat it and shut up? I'm not saying it's, like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think that So, what is the difference between this and an artist? Well, let's talk about that. I think that fundamentally and, like, ethically, it's kind of the same. I would agree with you. But there is the big difference that if you're taking AI art was trained from something that was not owned by you, whereas the synthetic voice is trained primarily by previous recordings of your voice that was contracted. So I think that's a pretty big difference, right? It's like it's the frame of reference that's being used is ethically sourced. So that's number one. And I'm also saying, like, I don't know if this is necessarily... I think the only part about this that is bad is the fact that you have to sign the NDA. That's what I think. Because I always think that generally, unless this is something that is like a tremendous privacy invasion or something like that, I think really, you know, people should be able to sign whatever contracts they want. Like a good example of this, I think the most famous example of this is Darth Vader. James Earl Jones, the guy that voiced Darth Vader, has signed away his likeness to be used for Darth Vader, as far as I know, for the indefinite future. Even, is it past when he dies? I mean, the dude's like fucking 90-something, right? So, yeah, no boundaries at all. I don't know what the boundaries are, but I feel like it's relatively minimal. Yeah. You sure about that? Yeah, let me see if I can pull it up. Yeah, here we go. I just want to make sure that we had it there because you're right. Maybe I could just be repeating something I misunderstood. But no, it's right here. James Earl Jones signs over rights to voice of Darth Vader to be replaced by AI. And this is in September, so this is basically about a year ago. Okay, and guy's 92 years old, apparently. He's 91 last year. It means, you know, you do the math, he's 92. So, yeah, there you go. So it did happen. Let's see here. Exactly, I think keeping AI to keep legacy alive after the voice actor has passed is great. I wish Lance Riddick had been able to do that before he was passed. Yeah, the guy that played in John Wick. Yeah. Basically gave us the gift of his voice. Yeah, exactly. Here's what will happen. We'll have a record label companies for voice actors that will lease the voices of people for companies to use. This will destroy opportunities for most young and upcoming voice actors. Yeah, I think that's probably what's going to happen for sure. But if there's a cheaper way of doing something, it's always going to happen. I mean, that's just life. I'm not a fan of, as I said, making things illegal just to keep people's jobs on life support to try to avoid technological progression. I don't think this is a healthy thing for a culture to do. I don't think it's doing anybody any favors in the long run. I think that it will become a more, more important problem as time goes on. And I think that people should use technology to improve their lives and to, make things easier rather than trying to limit it in every way possible. Yeah, we do it all the time with Rust Belt jobs. Yeah, exactly. Voice acting has always been a lot of money for not a lot of work. I don't know if it's a lot of work or not. I bet it is a lot of work. I mean, like, think about how many different stupid voice lines Clive has in Final Fantasy. Like, all the little stupid comments, the fucking, all the like, I think there's a lot of lines, man. Like, you're probably saying, you're probably basically reading an entire book. Not a lot of work, but a lot of money. Well, I think it's probably a lot of work and a lot of money. Well, I don't know. Another construction worker. Yeah, probably. I get paid a lot for most of the games I'm in, but I busted my ass and throwed off for those jobs. Well, that's good for you, man. That's great. I mean, I just figured I'd talk about this for a little bit here. Obviously, a lot of voice actors and people like this are very unhappy about it. Here's really the problem, and this is just what's going to happen, is that there will eventually be people, that was me, not you, I apologize. There will eventually be people that are okay with this. Maybe like because they get paid more money, maybe be, and it'll just slowly become normalized over time. It will slowly become normalized over time. I don't think there's anything you can really do about it. That's what I would say. No matter what people think, AI is going to start eating jobs in the entertainment industry. Nothing is going to stop it. Yep, it doesn't matter how many Twitter threads are going to happen. You're going to get replaced by synthetic streamers too? Well, thank God. That means I don't have to get out of bed. Yeah, I can't wait. That's going to be great. I mean, look at VTubers. Isn't that the first iteration of it, whenever you think about it? Isn't it interesting? Apply this to, like, truck driving? Well, like, theoretically, wouldn't that be good? Like, wouldn't it be good if we could just automate every truck driver job and nobody ever has to be a truck driver again? I think that would be amazing. That would be incredible. So, yeah, I would love that. And I think the people don't want that because it's their job. But, I mean, should we hold back all of society because some person doesn't want to lose their job? I don't think so. I think that's ridiculous. So, yeah. One interesting thing is it makes me think that, is that voice-acted roles could give the original creator of the characters the ability to retain the likeness of the voice actor if their employment is ever terminated for any reason. Exactly. Read these lines. Okay, you're fired, and now you're going to work for 50 years for free, and you never get a break. And you're never going to complain because you're AI. Problem solved. Can we use AI to replace CEOs and other very high-paid jobs that don't do much? Well, I think a lot of CEOs do a lot of work. I mean, a lot of the people that at least I know that are in positions like that put in tons of hours. They put in tons of work. It's not that CEOs don't put in a ton of work. It's that they don't put in 320 times more work than a worker that's working at the bottom rung. Yeah, they're working 80 hours a week, 90 hours a week, but that doesn't mean that the other person is working like 15 minutes. They're also working 40 hours or 30 hours a week. Yeah, so it's not that. You sure about that? No, I'm not sure about every CEO in every company. I'm just talking about my personal experience. I think that the idea that all of the people that are in high-paid positions don't do a lot of work, this is just a fucking... This is like a 20-year-old cope. Like really, what the... Like, an unemployed Redditor cope. Get the fuck out of here. Of course, these people work constantly. What's in the back of meetings all day? Yeah, of course. It's their entire life? Yeah, definitely. You'd be okay with getting replaced with AI and not getting paid for it? No, I wouldn't be okay with it. Of course I wouldn't be okay with it. Nobody should be... Okay. It's not that you have to be okay with it happening. It's that you shouldn't expect everybody else in the society to support it. Of course, nobody wants it to happen to them, but just because somebody doesn't want it to happen to them doesn't mean it shouldn't happen. Does that make sense? Or just 180'd real fast? Well, no, it's not a 180 at all. If you think that's a 180, maybe you get confused easily. But yeah. It's not about the amount of work, but the impact of the work. Yeah, definitely. Messi just kicks a ball. Yeah, there you go. Voice actors should license their voices to companies using AI to reproduce them. Then they never have to work and they get paid. Yeah, but the problem is people, if they can hear your voice, they can use it. And eventually that's just going to happen. I don't think there's anything you can really do about it. It's the same thing as like deep fakes and Photoshop. Like, what are you going to do about somebody photoshopping something? Like, nothing. Right? How can you possibly stop that? The point hinges on the government actually helping. They'll fight tooth and nail to not give us a universal wage. Yeah, no doubt. Have you heard the riot drama about Gotcha and the $200 reskin? No, I haven't seen that. Automation replaced factory workers. I bet they weren't too happy. But that doesn't mean that we should try to bring back those jobs. And there you go. I think that's a great example of what I was trying to say. I understand that whenever you bring forth a new nuanced perspectives, Gotcha Andes get confused because they're too stupid to understand it. But I think anybody that really saw what I was trying to say could figure out what I was doing. How many hours a week do you spend on all your businesses? Every hour of every day I am working or doing something minus probably 2 hours a day. I would say I am like doing something. I am either streaming, I am in a meeting, I am talking to somebody, I am looking at something. I would say something like that. Maybe recently it's like 3 or 4 hours a day because I've been helping my dad a lot. But other than that, yeah, mine is streaming. I don't know. I'd have to think about it. It's just scared about how much people's livelihoods are going to go if the government doesn't help. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I think this is pretty scary for a lot of people. And yeah, this needs more attention. Yeah, I think people are going to be in for a very rude awakening. What's that? Never spend another dime on high-res games ever, you say? You got it, Chief. Yep, there you go. And I think that most people don't really like this kind of stuff. Like, people have... I think that people are starting to have, like, this reflexive dislike of AI. Whenever... I think what people don't like about AI is whenever it's being used to, like, automate people's jobs away from them by using the work that they've already created. Is making AI voice really that different than somebody just impersonating that voice? And most people wouldn't be against that, I don't think. It's the same idea as the AI stuff. You don't just invent a new art style from nothing. It's based off of things you've seen. It doesn't... So this is what I think people don't understand. Is that everybody is trying to make a moral argument. It doesn't matter. Because if it can be done, and it saves money, it will be done. That's it. It's literally not any more complicated than that. And you can try to hold it back for a couple of years and pretend like, oh, it's not going to happen. Oh, it will happen eventually. And as soon as one person starts doing it, then everybody has to do it, or they lose to the one person that started doing it. And that's just life. My response to your response about automated factory jobs versus art jobs is it more people want to voice act than want to work at a factory job? Well, then they can voice act all they want, but people aren't entitled to have somebody else hire them, are they? I mean, come on, think about it. Can you read what the president of Hi-Res said in response to that tweet? What the president of Hi-Res said in response to the tweet? Absolutely. Where should I look? What's the guy's name? John Hi-Res? That's not his name. There's no way that's his name. John Hi-Res. Okay, replies. Let's see what this is here. Okay, so he responded here. And does he have any sort of a response? Don't believe everything you see on the internet, fellas. This is a topic people want to spin up for controversy without the proper research or any care for nuance. What are your sources? Because as the guy who approved an AI writer for voice talent that includes the following, I think you're full of shit. Client agrees not to use sublicense the performance to simulate client's voice or likeness or create any synthesized voice or likeness of talent. A few more questions in a comment. First, let me establish our Verify Smite has literally done as much as any game in history. Okay, so this is bullshit. Next. The entire rider, we've been... Okay, so let me just read through this to see what's important. So it's the same thing. Yeah. Is the part about synthetic voices in the event of the actor's death potentially a bit of lawyers gone wild? Maybe. But it's a legitimate use case and fairly narrow. With 1,000 characters voiced, it could easily address a situation like, we want to add a new voice VGS line to every character 5 years from now. We'll never add terms of the use. We'll never say in terms of the use of AI, in part because AI is a much too broad umbrella that captures a massive range of use cases. I can't predict the future for AI in 3 months, much less 30 years. And we're protecting IP many years in the future, even with future owners that aren't you. But I think it would be scuzzy and weird to use a human actor's voice for AI work without their permission, so that's nothing that we have an intention to do. So, I think this is where this comes from, right? I think if you want to trust what this guy is saying, this answer is accurate. But I don't think that anything that he's saying actually precludes them from doing it anyway. So, for example, you still have to sign. There's no defined term of what incapacity or any foreseeable time. Like, this is never defined anywhere in the contract. There's no footnotes for what this is supposed to be. Maybe in the entertainment industry, I've never read a contract like this. I think maybe 1 or 2 times before this. So, like, maybe it's a term that's used very commonly and I'm just not familiar with it. But generally, whenever you use a term like this, especially that's not a proper noun, you have to, or it's not a defined term also in terms of the law, I feel like you have to either define what that term means, or it could mean anything that term could possibly mean. So it's a deception check. Yes, this is a deception check. And so technically, and this is what I was saying, right, is if you trust them and you want to believe them, his answer is completely accurate. But if you want to read this in the most cynical way, I still think that you're going to have the exact same perspective. Because they still say that they're able to redo it, and also him saying that they don't want to do it without people's consent is an irrelevant point, because trying to make people sign the contract, signing a contract is consent. So there was never a situation where people would not know this was going to happen, because the contract would be signed, and the implication of signing the contract would be that you read the contract, and by signing it, you give the consent. So you can't say that you're trying to use it without people's consent whenever the concern is that you're trying to lock people into a contract that uses it without them knowing. You see what I'm saying? It's confusing. And it's also like you're saying basically like the same thing, but like, what is a contract? Contract is fundamentally consent, right? And so there's that. Also, let's see here, for use in with written consent of talent. And also such consent. See, this is another qualifying term that we can use here. And such consent not to be unreasonably withheld of delayed. I think it should say of delay or delayed, but okay. So what this means is that they can still do it without their consent if they are able to prove or create cause that the reply was unreasonably withheld. You see what I'm saying? So they created a loophole inside of the contract to allow them to bypass the terms of the contract. And that's right here in 2B. You just read it, it's right here. And so there's that. Let's see here. Besides this, that's why I wanted to read everything out. And call contract mutual agreement, then consent. Yes, but you consent to the mutual agreement. You see how that works? So same thing here, shall be compensated for synthetic performances. This is probably the best thing in the contract. And the best thing of the contract here is that any time that an AI version of the voice is created, the actor that it was the voice actor that was used from should be compensated. You see what I'm saying? Couldn't it then be cheaper for people looking to use the person's voice to pay for the license from high-res than pay for the individual? Usually licenses like that aren't transferable, but I don't know enough about IP law to be sure about that. I think that there's probably 2 different categories, and most things fall in the category of being non-transferable. So yeah, that's my understanding. I really don't know a lot about that. I think in the future, most of the creators will be replaced by AI. Yeah, for sure. No more than pro rata based on the length. Well, I think that it would be based on the length based off of like what they were previously being paid for the equivalent length. But you're right. This also makes it towards inflation. It's not inflation. It's not contingent on inflation. I'm pretty sure that like if you sign a contract that you're going to be paid $50 in 10 years, and then in 10 years you don't get paid the inflated value of what like $10 was or $50 10 years ago was, right? You get paid that exact amount of money. So this also protects them from having to pay higher wages as well. You see what I'm saying? It's designed to cover for high-level stuff. You'd have to fight it in court for any nuances, which, of course, the individual isn't going to be able to afford. Yes, and also, any of the nuances are ambiguous. Yeah, they're very ambiguous. I don't think people know what AI is or what it's capable of. This will just create a way of actors to make money without having to work. It will, until people are able to get around that. Would you sign it? Would I sign this? I don't care what people do. People are going to do what they're going to do. You can't stop it. What's stopping a voice actor from doing that? I don't know. Pro rata implies they'd only get paid for what's actually included into the game, whereas they might have been paid for record a bunch of lines that only some got included. Could work out to much less. That's a really good insight, and I didn't think of that. Yeah, you're definitely right. So yeah, again, with like what this guy said, there's definitely, like, if you want to believe him, his answer is adequate. But if you think that they're lying or they're acting in their own best interest, then I don't think it's adequate. Because there does have to be some, he updated it. Oh, this one here. Client shall be the owner of the recorded. Client is high res. Such commercial purpose can be at client's discretion. Writer shall be construed in connection with part of the agreement. Client agrees not to use sublicense the performance to stimulate talent's voice to create likeness. Yeah. Point 2. Client agrees not to use or sublicense the performance to... Here is updated rider. Yeah. AV processing includes training AI with your voice, so as long as they tweak it, it could be enough to be considered materially different. They're different. They're golden. Yeah, I don't know about this. I'd have to really read it a few times and think about it. Because this seems very confusing. When he says they won't do it in this version, well, it does say they won't do it, but it also said the rider, which is the AI voice, shall be construed in connection with and as part of the agreement. And also, the agreement could also be referring to a second contract. I don't know. Because agreement is capitalized, right? Which means that it's a proper noun and it's referring to a specific document. Makes you ponder, and it's literally made ambiguous to give leeway to the client. Maybe, but I'd have to read it. Like, doing something like this on stream is kind of hard to do, and like reading it and like actually like trying to process it in that way. Because like streaming is like such a different way of thinking than like reading legal terminology. So like it's hard to swap back and forth, so I'd have to really read this off stream and see it for myself. Because I'm also not used to reading stuff like this a whole lot. A lot of all legal documents have to be written in fucking Old English, because people would manipulate them if they weren't. That's why.